Tuesday morning. First Tuesday of the month of February. On the first Tuesday of each month, we visit with Indiana Borough Police Chief Justin Schawl, who was in the studio with us this morning. And our visit is presented by Marcus & Mack, voted the best law firm and best personal injury lawyer 4 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. Visit them online at marcusandmack.com. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
The snow last week was, impressive. There are a number of words you can apply. Impressive is the one I choose to use now, but there are a lot of people using other words to describe it last week. And the mountains of snow that the Indiana Borough crews have been removing in the overnights here, you could not see the front of the library almost the last week at this time from all of the snow. There are obvious safety issues when you have snow such as that, and Borough Police, the whole force had to be on your toes last week, huh?
Yeah, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this a little bit. First and foremost, you hit it. Kudos to Indiana Borough's Public Works Department and to their director, Paul Gellis, and to everyone who was out clearing snow, piling snow Saturday night to what ended up being Monday morning. It was an incredible amount of snow that fell in a short amount of time. I can tell you that, from my personal experience, I shoveled quite a few times. And so, it was pretty at first, and then it became, a nuisance as Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening went along. Now, that's my personal perspective, but it was certainly, a sight to behold. And really what I appreciated was that as I was shoveling my walk on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning even, that Borough Public Works trucks were up and down the streets. You could hear snow being plowed, from a great distance, and then they'd come up past the street. I really appreciated that. And so when a snow event occurs in any community, but specifically in Indiana Borough, since we're talking about that, we have to get emergency responders to where they're going. Yeah. And the first part of that is to have a public works department and a PennDOT crew and a road crew that can get our roads safe enough, now, albeit still dangerous, but safe enough where an emergency vehicle, a fire truck, a police car, and an ambulance can get from point A to point B because, threats, medical emergencies, fires, they don't care whether it's raining or snowing. They don't care it doesn't matter whether it's, negative degrees or 100 degrees. These things happen. People need help. Ambulances need to get where they're going. Police cars need to get where they're going. Fire trucks need to get where they're going. And so Public Works, when I talk about an all-encompassing community safety effort, I'm always talking about all partners. And in the snow event, clearly, Public Works led the way. Yeah. And so I would say we're able to get to where we're going. That's important. But people still need to get to where they're going, or people try to get from point A to point B, oftentimes when they shouldn't. So we end up handling people stuck in the snow, crashes. And when you do that, now the weather becomes the emergency because we have to get to these folks, because you can't have somebody walking outside in negative weather or, up to their knees if it's a person that's not capable of that kind of stress on their body. We can't leave cars in the middle of the road. And so, you have to be out there. We have to be out there. There was no break during a snow emergency for any police officer. I had the luxury on Sunday, like many of us, to be shoveling my own walk. But I can tell you that there were police officers out in full uniform everywhere. And that's not just Indiana Borough. Police officers don't get a break just because it's snow or rain. Neither do medics and, of course, firefighters. So Public Works led the way, and we appreciate that, and I want to say that publicly. I don't want that to be lost in any of the mix that we talk about. But then it is emergency response. How do we plug in for partners? Mayor Simmons used to tell a story, and he's told it publicly, so I feel like I'm okay telling it, where he had a need for an ambulance at his house years ago, and a police officer was the first to arrive, which we always are in Indiana Borough because we respond to all emergencies. And the officer who responded shoveled his walk so that the medics could get in. Yeah. And I appreciate that story because that's the essence of the Indiana Borough Police Department, is that, we're looking for ways to plug in positively. So a medical emergency that wasn't a life-saving effort is better served by first responding partners at Citizens Ambulance Service, but that doesn't mean that the police don't play a role in making that an easier path. Yeah. So we shoveled snow. So, yeah, those are the things.
When you have events such as that, and you've got huge piles of snow all throughout the town as well, people walk in unusual places because they're the only places they can walk. So you do see people walking along the roadway. In really bad snow conditions, visibility is very poor, and so police have to be very well aware, and the motoring public has to be very well aware that there are unusual circumstances, and sometimes people put themselves at jeopardy without even realizing.
Oh, I appreciate you segueing that conversation, because you're absolutely right. Here's the things that we don't think about. When snow is piled up, our community members who aren't mobile or who need assisted mobility devices, they're forced into the roadway to move. And sometimes a sidewalk in a snowstorm or an ice storm isn't necessarily the safest place to walk. And I can tell you from my own perspective that, when I park a car and there's 3 feet of snow piled up on the curb, now you're forced to either climb over a 3-foot pile of snow and ice to get onto the sidewalk, or walk on the street or the parking lane until you can get to a corner. So what does that mean for Indiana's public safety? What does that mean for our safety? It means this. It means that motorists, again, we need to be slowed down. We need to be patient. We need to give ourselves time to get from point A to point B. We need to be constantly watching for people where they're not expected to be. And, we haven't been immune from tragedy in Indiana Borough in the past year, but we can move forward in the right direction. And moving forward in the right direction is caring for each other, because, it does take all of us. We can erase the carelessness perhaps of a pedestrian if the motorist is paying sufficient attention for both. And we can do some of those things. Not that we have to, but because it's a good neighbor thing to do. And because as much as I could enforce traffic laws in Indiana Borough, police officers nowhere can be everywhere. And so it's just a reality that the more community assistance we have in our public safety effort, the safer everybody is.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of the last year, as you were moments ago, you will be making a presentation before Borough Council tonight, yes?
I will be. I'll be providing Borough Council during my opportunity to speak with a year in review, unpacking 2025 from the police department's perspective. My conversation will be brief, but it will be accompanied by a more lengthy document that I give to Borough Council at the end or at the beginning of every year, at the end of every year, however you'd like to look at it, but detailing our calls for service, our training opportunities, our responses, our proactive initiatives, the things that we're doing in the community. So it's always a good opportunity. It's always a good opportunity to put in front of our community the things that we're doing. So,
as you prepare those every year, you probably are able to reflect back on the previous year's report. I'm sure that at the beginning of every year you have goals for the police force, just as any CEO would for his company, or other business leaders, and so you look back at those goals and you say, well, how did we do on this one or on that one? Is there something that we can do differently or better? Are there other opportunities out there? That's a constant refinement for you, isn't it?
It is. It is a constant refinement, and we are like any other organization, and we want to be a high-functioning organization, and we want to be a professional organization. So we have to match mission with what we're providing throughout the year. And public safety picture is large, so it does give us a chance, and it gives me a chance. I'm always looking at what did we do last year? What can we improve upon this year? This year's report is going to be no different. It is, what did we achieve this year? What are we looking to achieve next year? Technology rapidly changes. Our sometimes human resources change. Community needs change. Focuses can change. We have a strategically flexible strategy for public safety in Indiana Borough, because we have to be strategically flexible. But strategically flexible means that we have to be adaptive. And so sometimes the goals that we set at the beginning of the year, they may get accomplished quickly, or it may take a while. And it just depends on what the circumstances are of the community, because life doesn't stop for anybody. And so as much as we want to be proactive, we find ourselves constantly responding. And sometimes it doesn't afford us the best opportunity. But we've done exceedingly well in our efforts, and that's a credit to every man and woman in a police uniform for Indiana Borough.
Where does the Borough Police Force stand right now? Adequately staffed? Equipment is good? Are there needs?
Always needs. Adequately staffed would, I think, be a perception that some would feel yes, some would feel no. We are staffed certainly to a point where we can care for Indiana Borough. If we could do more with more, we cannot do more with less. We haven't, thankfully, we have not felt yet, and I'm hoping that we never do, but we have not felt yet a human resource emergency like some places. So I will tell you, as chief, we are fully staffed at the minute, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't change tomorrow or isn't going to change tomorrow. We have officers who are eligible for retirement. We have officers who are, looking to retire. I myself, in a couple years, will love that opportunity. So, there's always things, and then there's always the unexpected. And so, but we're prepared. We're always prepared. We're always going to put ourselves in a place where we can be most beneficial to the community. And so, technology changes. You asked about technology. There's never enough, but sometimes there's too much, and it really depends on what your level of comfort is. There's nothing that we have right now that we can't succeed for the community, but that doesn't mean that we should stop looking for ways to keep us prepared for the future. And that's what we're intent to do.
Sure, absolutely, and it's an ever evolving thing. Indiana Borough Police Chief Justin Schawl with us. Really quickly, when students go away for the Christmas break at IUP and they come back, frequently they find doors that are open and windows that are smashed and things that are missing. How did we do this year?
We did a good job. People, we're never going to be perfect as a community, but we did a good job. I don't have anything substantively, but I can tell you that there were a couple incidents of criminal activity, and we either have solved them or we are working on solving them and resolving them quickly. So just a great job, again, to criminal investigators, patrol officers, and also our community for locking their doors and doing the things that we can do to harden targets to make ourselves less vulnerable.
Good shape.
Thank you.
All right. Looking forward to what happens tonight at Indiana Borough Council. Thanks for coming in to visit with us today.
Thank you.
He is Indiana Borough Police Chief Justin Schawl here this morning on Indiana in the Morning. Coming up, a couple of moments away from now, Fox News at the top of the hour, and then Josh Whittison rejoins us from the WCCS newsroom. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com.